I'd like to start with, on the next question, I'd like to start with Mr. Balazs and then go to Ms. Mund and Dr. Becker. Give us your 3 best ideas for lowering the cost of living for American families.
Well, the first thing that has to happen is we have to get the energy costs down. Everybody knows that. And we do that through energy dollars and taking regulations off. So you need to peel a ton of regulations off the energy industry in the United States. That's only going to be done back in Washington right now because that's where the regulations came from. We don't have a shortage of innovation in energy in North Dakota and other states, but you've got to do energy first because that's all your transportation costs, that's your fertilizer costs, that's feeding, that's all the things, and it's all tied together. So that's going to drive inflation down. And when you drive inflation down there, the next thing that's going to happen is people are going to be able to do more, travel more, find more jobs, and get to work better and cheaper. And they're going to be able to buy things cheaper. So once you started creating those jobs, because we are down on jobs right now, and we have poor paying jobs because of this inflation right now. People don't see any way out of it because you can't make enough money to make ends meet, regardless of what Washington and Biden say. So we need to create those jobs. And the last thing we need to do is, in order to stop this inflation, you have to reduce spending. And we can do that. They did it in the 40s and 50s under Eisenhower's models, and all the economists show that. And that comes from growing through energy dominance, and then austerity programs, cutting those entitlements. And the last thing, of course, is reducing those budgets. And we can reduce those. If you look at the CBO's last report, they show you very strictly how to do that over the next 10 years and still maintain a strong military and still have readiness and still have national security. So those are the 3 legs of it. And if we do that, I'm telling you, Americans we can pull through this.
Ms. Mund.
Yes, I do think we need to balance the budget. We need to look and do very strategic cost-benefit analysis. As a fiscal conservative, again, we're going to have to spend money to ensure that our government is running and functioning properly, but we need to be doing these cost-benefit analysis. So the first is the budget. The next is when we actually do provide funding. So whether that be in a PPP loan, whether that be student loan forgiveness, I think all loans need to be paid back. We need to have accountability in how this money is being distributed. And we also need to have accountability from the citizens to pay it back. You know, this is our federal tax dollars. And then the last is to also be energy independent. We have to remove any type of regulation. We need to allow the energy sector to do their business.
Dr. Becker.
Well, I think the answer is pretty straightforward. We need to get government out of our lives, both in the way of regulation, which jacks up the prices of everything. And President Trump was very good at that, decreasing regulations. But we also need to slash federal government. Vivek Ramaswamy, Javier Milei in Argentina, fantastic, simple ideas. Slash the size of federal government, which slashes the cost, which allows you to pay less money in taxes. And then get control of spending. This overspending by our elected officials over the last 30, 40, 50 years is in large part the greatest contributor to inflation. So it is the people that we have sent to represent us in Washington, D.C. that are causing us the pain right now. So we need to send people who are going to get a hold of spending, who are very interested in decreasing regulation. That's how we improve the standard of living, the cost of living for people around the United States.
This is kind of a follow-up to that question. With the birth rates falling in America for citizens and the retirement of baby boomers, which is the largest generation in world history, combined with the reduction or the desired reduction in immigration and illegal immigration, what does the federal government or any level of government need to do to make sure that there are people able and willing to do the jobs that are out there in order to keep the American economy moving? That'll go to Rick Becker.
Well, that's a very complex question. I think, again, if we look at what the federal government has done, I mean, generally anything it does causes problems. And so if we pull it out, there will be fewer problems. You mentioned we want to have less immigration and less illegal immigration. But I'd focus, we don't want any illegal immigration, but I think immigrants who are here for the right reasons, who believe in our way of life, people that have been vetted, people that are brought in based on merit are fantastic. They're fantastic for the workforce. They're fantastic for all of us. I have met many people in my clinic as a physician. I've met many people who have come from other countries. I cannot find people who appreciate the freedoms we have more than someone who comes from a country without those same freedoms. It's amazing. So I welcome them. But yes, we want zero illegal immigrants. I think that when we look at that, The other components really are societal, and they're interesting. I don't know how we get a handle of it, because yes, things are changing. The birth rate's decreasing. And I don't know, that has a lot to do perhaps with how we interact with each other. Maybe it has something to do with technology. But I can tell you this, government is not the answer to whatever that answer might be.
Alex?
Yeah, I think you pull the stress off those couples and those kids that want to have kids, and you do that by getting inflation under control. You know, when you've got money in your pocket and you can pay the bills, you're a lot more likely to sit around and talk about having kids, or maybe your folks are talking to you about it and you can actually do it. So it ties into the other question you asked. It is complex in that, you know, having a baby complicates your life a lot. I get that. But the reality is you've got to free it up so people can do it. And you got to free up small business. So when you start pulling off, it's not just pulling off regulations, it's letting people know that you're going to stand behind them when you pull off those regulations. You're going to make loans a lot easier. The interest rates are going to come down. People actually see a future. And we saw that under Trump. And we've seen it in other administrations a long time back. But the key here is to get together as Americans and know that there's a future that you're going to get somebody's going to have your back on. We're not going to be leaving you out there hanging, and the prices are going to go through the roof and they're going to fluctuate. So, well, maybe I better buy a home now. I don't know if I can get into a home. All those things come down when we get control of inflation and get back to energy dominance. So, and I'm not talking about energy independence. The United States needs to get back to controlling it. We were close to that, and we should be, again, if we get Trump in office and a good Congress to back him up. So the questions you're asking, I think, have to do a lot with faith, because people need to have that faith that's going to be okay. They need to get back to the church. They need to get to their families and know they're going to be whole and be taken care of, and not be afraid every single day that something's going to change the law tomorrow or make it different. And if we back them up, if we stand strong with them every single day and we be transparent, if we go and serve them from North Dakota and listen to them, this state will be the one that turns around that corner, even though we are a small, relatively small populous state.
Cara?
Yeah. If we want people to get back to church, we're going to have to empower them enough to be able to cover basic costs. As a 30-year-old woman, you know, family is at the top of my mind. And you do see this inflation rate. I mean, it is extremely difficult. It's expensive to raise children. And I think with that, we really need to keep the government out of these spaces. We need to empower individuals, to let them know that they have the autonomy, they have the independence. When they want to start a family, they're going to have, you know, that choice in doing it. So if you want people to work, you need to empower them to work. You need to incentivize them to work. And I truly believe the American dream is still out there. I've had an opportunity to experience it in many ways. And even as Miss America, right? I had this dream. I worked hard for it. I knew it wasn't going to be easy, but I worked hard because I knew it would be worth it. And we need to remind our young individuals why it's worth it to be in the workforce.